Testing 1, 2, 3. Hey, Atlan. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. How you doing today, my friend? How was your weekend? Hello, Anani. Welcome back. How was your weekend? How are both of you doing today? Yeah, how's everyone's weekend? Plants are doing good. We should probably take some pictures and send them soon. When we planted the strawberry plants, there was like a heat wave the first few days after, and we didn't have the greenhouses on 2 of the plant beds right at that moment. We got them like the day after they arrived, the strawberries did. So we threw them up immediately, but a couple leaves got burnt in the first couple of days, but they seem to be holding strong, and new leaves and runners and sprouts are coming out. So it's hot though. The greenhouses really help break up the, like all they get is humidity and like it's hot inside there, but instead of it being just direct sunlight exposure, it's a lot better. So the plants are looking good. They're coming along. I definitely need to take some pictures of the sprouts and stuff because there's a few plants that are just huge. Alrighty, let's see. So we're going to be starting a new map today. I'm going to be working on a landing page, which I have a few downloaded to show some examples and get some ideas. I currently am not running a campaign, but I'm in a campaign. So I thought I'd make a landing page around the campaign I'm in, which I can use, some objects and maps and other stuff too, which I can get maps from my DM, and I also have the map of our bastion, which I built. Yeah, we're going to be kind of teaching this concept and exploring some ideas with it. So I didn't get it printed yet. I was in the middle of coloring it. So what you saw there was me trying to get the coloring just right, which is actually not as straightforward as I thought it would be. So depending on the model, right? Like it can be easy, it cannot be easy. But essentially you like have all these different tools, like one's a fill tool for filling. So I was able to cover the whole thing in like the terracotta kind of brownish color, right? That clay color. That was easy. But then trying to get like the horns or the tips of the wings or his like claws just right, they would just make everything around it go to that color. So it wasn't really filling correctly. So I had to do a lot of that manually, and I'd go to zoom in way far and go to the edges and crisp them up so it looked accurate, mainly because I didn't want a lot of like this whole process when you're printing with 4 colors of filament, it gets a little dicey. And if you have lots of colors mixed in the same area, it takes forever. And so I would scan over every pixel to make sure there wasn't an errant like orange mixed in with the browns or a tan or a brown mixed in with the tans, etc. So it was essentially a process of going over every inch of it, hand painting a lot of it, Some areas were very, like the eyes and the body, very quick, but the horns and the like talons and claws, not easy at all. Nice, Imperator Morsis. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. No video or music on YouTube? Try refreshing, maybe. Atlam, Imperator Morsis, are you getting a feed right now? Oh, mine can handle multiple colors, but I only have one color feed system. So I can do up to 5 colors in a single print with ease, but I could easily do more than that because you can program it to tell you when to put in a different color. So you can essentially pull a spool out and put in a different one. So I have this top unit, a head unit called an AMS, stands for automatic material, I don't know, something. But anyway, it holds 4 reels of filament, and it dries the filament and it feeds the filament. So essentially you can have, 4 colors in there, and then there's an auxiliary nozzle as well. So I have 2 nozzles, and that nozzle feeds from a secondary spool holder on the outside, which could also technically be fed into another AMS unit. So that's weird. That is weird. Sometimes the feeds are delayed on various platforms. Not much I can do about it. Yeah, there are printers with multiple print heads, like tool changing heads, but that also adds a lot of parts. So my printer, instead of having multiple heads, it has 2 nozzles on the head, 1 extruder on the head, and then an auxiliary extruder on the back of the printer. So it just feeds in through a PTFE tubing to the nozzle. It's actually pretty clever. But anyway, it makes the nozzle very small, and then I have the AMS unit on top. It is a Bamboo unit. It's I have the Bamboo X2D. It's quite nifty. Anyway, so we could talk more about 3D printing, and what we were talking about there also while we start making some maps is basically, here, let me pull up this image. This is what we were talking about. So that is our beloved mascot, Hendrik, right? And this is a plushie of Hendrik. Automatic multi-supply, okay. Honestly, I didn't know what it meant, and I never looked into it. I just know everyone calls it an AMS. Anyway, so I'm very new to all this 3D printing tech. It's crazy. I feel like a 3D printing dinosaur when I'm getting into this new tech. I've been 3D printing for over a decade, and all this new printer stuff, it's like everything is so autopilot now. I mean, there's so many things that weren't around when I started printing. This printer auto levels its bed, which means I don't have to spend a half hour, fine tuning hand turning like little screws to get the bed just perfectly aligned to pull a sheet of paper between the nozzle and the bed. It has a sealed, contained print area, which one of my older printers did. It was nice. But it also has automatic filtration, and that temperature of that container, the sealed room where it prints, is also monitored. So it'll raise the temperature or lower it depending on the print type to help with adhesion and to help keep it from warping, etc. It can obviously feed in 5 different filament types. The print bed is magnetic and can be pulled out, and it's like bendable. So you can just take the plate and bend it, and the print comes right off. It's like the easiest thing I've ever used when it comes to printing. My older 2 printers, it was like when printing was just barely coming out to the masses, and it was a different experience entirely. Like my old printers feel like a classic car, right? Like they're fun, they're amazing, but you need to know how to fix them and maintain them in order to own them, right? there's going to be things that break and you're going to need to get in there and fix it yourself. Whereas like a lot of this newer printer, while it does allow you to fix it itself, you can dive in. Everything has been like simplified. Like if something breaks, it automatically gives you an error code and it gives you a QR code to scan. You scan that QR code, it goes to a wiki page with video and documentation guiding you through it. So you can kind of like, oh, that's pretty easy. I can fix it. And most everything's on autopilot. Like I could be here at my computer or on my phone, send a print to it. I could be away from my home. As long as that printer's on and the material is in the printer, I could print on the go. It's pretty neat. So my older printer, I set up the print on the computer, put it on a memory card or a USB drive, take it over, plug it in, because you couldn't hook it up USB, because if there was like a hiccup of USB for a moment, then the print would fail. They did find solutions for sure. When I think the people who built the Bamboo printers were like, we need a printer that's easy to use and just gets rid of all this headache, right? I definitely enjoy that aspect of it. I've been printing on it nonstop since I've got it set up. It basically has been running constantly. I have a FlashForge Creator Pro 2. That was my first 3D printer. I've had that for over a decade. I have a TiVo Tornado, which is a large bed, very tall printer. It's like a Creality clone of the first series of like Creality or Ender series printers. And then I also have a that Bamboo X2D. Those are my FDM or filament printers. And then I have a Anycubic Photon. It's like their first model that I bought off of my buddy used. He sold it to me for like $80 with a ton of resin, cleaning supplies, like a bunch of different stuff, and the printer. It was not bad at all. So I think I've used that printer a bunch, but resin definitely. Oh, Photon Mono, nice. Honestly, the thing about those printers, you got to understand, I've only bought one printer in almost all of these. So one of them basically was secondhand, less than $100. So that was great. It's not like I paid full price. The TiVo Tornado was a sponsorship item that I got when I was streaming 3D printing primarily a lot. The FlashForge was a gift. And then the X2D was also a gift. So I've only spent money on like parts for printers and filament over the years. I got lucky. Bro, you need to print that. Okay, so looking at this map, let's get into map making today. We got a little distracted with 3D printing. But that print, I will be printing one eventually, and we'll probably give one away. We'll do like a giveaway where we do a plushie, and then the runner-up prize will be a 3D print. So we'll do like a double giveaway, right? I'm still trying to work out the painting. I've got a little bit left, and then it's figuring out supports for this print. When it comes to prints like this that take 12 plus hours and they're multicolor, you want to make sure the supports are perfect, because you don't want a ton of stuck support material or under supported so it looks gross and saggy. So essentially you need to make sure you get it just right. And I'm thinking of getting dissolvable supports, because they're like soluble in water. So after you print it, you just put it in like a bucket of water or a bathtub or whatever, and it dissolves away. That would take a lot of the guesswork out. Anyway, moving on. This map here is a great example of a landing page. Landing pages are essentially like a primer, a loading screen for your campaign, showing items of interest, generic items that are kind of fun and storytelling mechanic, backdrop stuff, maps, images of players, etc. So we're going to use that kind of themology to make one for my friends and family in our campaign, which we've had for over a year now. Let's see here. So we looked at that one. Let's look at this one here from Francesco. We're going to look at a couple of them. The printed one, and when I'm shipping it out, I'll likely package it very, very intensively. I've been experimenting with packaging options. So I recently learned that my shredder is actually beast enough to shred cardboard. And I was experimenting with this because we've been composting using worms, like earthworms. We got an earthworm compost like setup, and it's like multiple tiers. And the base tier requires, you kind of set like a filtration on the bottom, and the cardboard is required. They say, hey, put cardboard or newspaper and stuff in there. They love it. So my wife, she's like, oh, I hate tearing it up. I hate cutting it up. And I didn't want to do it either. I was like, hey, let's see if the shredder can do it. You can take strips, just cut them really quick with like a box cutter into strips that'll fit in it. Make sure there's no tape or print on it, and just run it through. And oh my gosh, it dices it up so good. And that's perfect shipping material too. So I'll probably save a bunch of that and then ship with it. Wrap it up in bubble wrap, put it in a bunch of that shredded cardboard. Should be safe. Anyway. So another great example. I don't know if y'all are noticing a common theme when it comes to these landing pages. Everything is oversized, right? Check this out. Well, maybe we can get the grid on. Oh, I remember I turned it down when I was building the other minute. Okay, let's turn it up. So this is quite scaled, right? This desk is huge. So I think a great methodology for this is to use force perspective where everything is large. Get the shield to lay down. I mean, that's just the way that shield does it. It's tipped. That's how that item is. That said, our next update will include the ability to rotate objects on any axis, so you could take any object and do that with it. Okay, so I think using force perspective is going to be our best approach. And for those wondering, what's force perspective? I don't know if you've ever done this before with your friends or seen it on a show or, heard about it. Maybe you did it in a science class. Have you ever had someone stand right in front of you and hold their hand out, kind of like this, right? And then you had another person, like a friend or family member, go way back behind them in the distance and stand in a place where it looks like they're floating on their hand. That's one kind of example of forced perspective. Another one is when you take your fingers, right, and you could see someone from far away, and it looks like, from your perspective, you might be crushing them like ants. You're crushing their heads. The thing is, that is another example of forced perspective. Essentially, it is where you're making something in the distance seem like it's very close and much smaller, or much larger. So we're going to use that eye trickery to make a landing page. Let's look at a couple more examples and then we're going to move on because I need some more inspiration here. Just noticed my TikTok feed is frozen. I'm going to refresh it. Sorry, TikTok, if any of you were chatting, my bad. Hey, Dufresne, how you doing? Any relation to Andy? Uh-oh. Andy does your taxes. So I noticed that we made an update to the terrain at some point, and that made this like kind of weird issue with this like overgrowth, right? Anyway, I think that retroactively ruined this map, which was quite beautiful, but this is another great example of a landing page. Nah, I'm blocking him, Jim. Don't go, Jim, don't go! I thought for some reason somebody would get that joke. That's a straight up old school joke from Kids in the Hall. It was like one of their skits. Alrighty. Crushing your heads? You shall be able to do nothing about it when I am crushing your heads. You think you can fire me? No, I crush your head. Really? I'd never seen it in Mr. Bean before. That's really cool. All I know is if I was a villain, I think I'd have to call them hench persons, my underlings. Because like henchman is sexist. Right? Underling also sounds kind of, I don't know. Don't even get me started on goon. Hench them? Okay, I think I have hench person. Cannon fodder. Us talking about this makes me laugh because like one of my favorite shows is the Venture Brothers, and there's like a serious like organizational setup where they have like good versus evil. There's the Guild of Calamitous Intent, and they have like license to commit mayhem as long as they follow certain like rules and regulations set up by a shadow government organization called OSI, the Operation of Secret Intelligence or whatever. And they basically just kind of go back and forth at each other. So villains are allowed in this world. It's kind of like an Avengers type world, but it's loosely based on Johnny Quest and 1,000 other pop culture shows. And they basically have rankings for the villains, and they have henchmen and all sorts of gadgets, and it's funny. It's funny. Okay, I'm going to start a new map. The real question is, should I do my landing page on like a dark parchment backdrop and just kind of set up everything the way I want it in an interior space? Or do I do an exterior space like this? We currently have a bastion, so I'm thinking it'd be cool to be like inside of that bastion somewhere. I'm great, Pokey Tavern. How you doing today? So every Monday we work on a map, right? And we build it live, and we usually will try to kind of tackle a theme. Last week when we wrapped up our previous map, the community kind of threw out some suggestions, and the main one voted was landing page. So a landing page is like a sort of like a loading screen, or like a primer screen for your campaigns, where you have your players sit when you kind of are doing like a quick catch up or recaps of previous sessions, etc. Or maybe a loading screen in between areas when you're loading in new zones or new maps, new encounters. So it's a good just narrative storytelling device. Think of it like a loading screen in a video game, or like a movie, like a DVD or a Blu-ray, when you have it in it has like a menu with like all of those different options, right? Oh, what a type of game am I playing for? D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. Though we do have a Bastion, which is 5.5e. We actually run a 5e campaign. This is the only aspect of our campaign that is 5e. So not every room has a desk, but we do have a study. Part of me was thinking I might incorporate this or this war table or something, or at least imagery from this build somewhere. So each of us has our own room that kind of reflects our personality of our character. This is my character's room. This is my wife's character's room. This is our paladin. This is our fighter. This is our fairy. That is a sorcerer / cleric. And this is our Sorlock's room. And then we have a study / library, I believe is what it is. Over here we have a bunch of workshops. It's like a bathroom kind of area. Go downstairs is our entry. We have our cleric and our paladin use this as kind of like a worship space. I can't remember what it's called. And then we have a storehouse that we make kind of passive income on. We also have our kitchen, dining, and our like pantry. And then we have a garden. And then downstairs, this is where the guards for our bastion are set up in these two rooms. We have the red and blue squads in our barracks. So I don't know. I may want to use imagery from this is all. Like maybe some shots, or maybe take a screenshot in it to use as part of it. That said, it may not be the entire backdrop. Just something to use as part of it. I'm going to also ask my DM for a world map, though I think his world map is on his... What is it? It's like a world building website. Can't remember what it's called. It's like a wiki, but for world building for D&D. Day and night shift, essentially. Yeah, for right now, that's what they are. Honestly, I'm not currently DMing a game, Imperator Morsus, so I am essentially just making this for fun, for our community, as an example for them to learn from, but also for my game that I'm in as a player, as kind of a gift for the group. I think that'd just be fun to have. So we're going to start a new map. I'll come back to this later. I think I'm going to do it in dark parchment. We've spent a little bit of time at sea, and we live in a forest, but for the most part, and we're like in an underwater cave that is like a caldera volcano right now, but I would say the dark parchment background could suit everything we need for right now. And I'll start large, but we'll shrink it down if we need to. Well, our game is a combo. Like we've been some indoors, some outdoors. Like we started in a prison. We had to jailbreak out of prison. And then after that, we were on the run from the law while we were getting vengeance against the person who imprisoned us and got evidence to, exonerate us. And then when we took out that guy's whole network, we found he had a note on him that was encrypted. We deciphered it, and it led us towards a book that was very powerful and could act as a key to a vast treasure hoard. So we followed that thread, left the city we were in, and then went to another town. And when we cleared our names and took out the boss that was the bad guy, he was a competitor to another underlord, and that underlord paid us and gave us a bastion as a reward because they were hired us to kind of do that as well because we had similar interests. Anyway, so we got our bastion, and then we moved to this new place where the bastion was called Grindavik. It's like a small town in kind of a large region that has a lot going on. So we figured, hey, this is a good base of operations. We, from there, went to a cave system. It was like a dungeon called Carthax Hollow. And that was a series of probably about 6 sessions to clear that dungeon. And then since then, we found another dungeon, which is like it was a cave that was underwater. And then that led to an underwater cave system that is inside of a volcano. And we used that book we found to open the gate to that. And now we're going in deeper into that dungeon. I like dungeons for the most part. Interior spaces are, I think, the funnest fights, cramping your players and making them kind of get creative. That said, outdoor fights can get really fun too, especially if your players have cool range or flight. Okay, so one thing I like about Dark Parchment, you could set it to night, right? And then it immediately looks extra dark and grim. Really like that about the Dark Parchment biome. Next, I'm going to generate a space where we're going to set up this landing page, right? So we're going to go here, and I'm going to make it 10 by 10 to start. We can expand it if we need it. I changed the generation settings for the room type to be nothing but floor. It really doesn't matter which room type I use, but in this case, I actually want it to be a nice floor. So I'm going to select mansion and just great hall or bedroom. The floor isn't really going to be seen much, but if it is, I want it to look nice. I just noticed we had a sub about 5 minutes ago. Anto TDK, thank you for the sub on YouTube. Much appreciated, my friend. It's a nice looking floor. Next, let's pick a table. That desk looks nice. That other table looks nice. The war table's interesting too, but it has that big crease in it. I know there's a new table that's like this, but doesn't have that. A newer table. Hey, Volkahar, how you doing? Welcome back. What's new, friend? That one. We'll look over a few. I'm open to a few. Just kind of limits the space of where you can put things, right? Here, let's turn on the lights here for a minute. Hey, Morgana, how are you? Man, we got a lot of viewers over on YouTube today. It's popping on YouTube. So I think this table's out because this big river gouge is distracting, okay? I love this table. Also, though, the grain is a bit distracting. I like this one. I like these. These all look good. Let's make them roughly the same size so we can kind of decide. Remember, the table is just the backdrop. It's not as important, but I want it to look clean, you know? Oops. And we've got this artificer workbench. Okay, so looking at this, which table should we use as the backdrop of our landing page? Speaking of which, I'm going to save this, get started. Okay. On the new campaign, what do you mean, Jack? I'm not starting a new campaign. I'm just making a landing page for the existing campaign I'm in. Oh, Volkahar is nice. So looking at these tables here, let's go from top to bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. What's up, Asmodeus? What is that? Burl? I'm not sure what you mean. Oh. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. You want this one used. Number 4 up close. Here. Hey, welcome back, Pokey Tavern. We're picking a table for the landing page. I like this. It's interesting, but it limits my space. Though we could set up the camera perfectly in the exact spot we need it to with a token. A lot easier with this because you could just kind of pull back the chair. So I'm open to this one. It's an interesting concept. This is just a nice little desk, kind of like an executive desk. Here we have this, what I would consider more like a what are those huge tables that they put in like a meeting room? I know they have a specific name for them, right? A boardroom table or something like that. This more looks like a workbench / table. This could be any number of things. Desk, table, whatever. It looks very generic in comparison. So we got 3 and 4 Chim voted for number 1. Conference table. That's what they call it. That's what they call it. But that's definitely what it reminds me of. These two could easily just both be conference tables. Or this could even be a dining table just looking at it, you know? Shows you how many conferences I have. Morgana. How are you doing, by the way? Welcome back. Uh-oh. Where'd Diego? Number 3. Two votes each for 1, 3, and 4. It looks like 3 is going up. Gives you Golden Axe map vibes, Jack. It's so funny you say that. So, growing up, one year, my dad was a carpenter, a cabinet maker, and he did a bunch of trade work for a gentleman who owned a Tilt franchise in our town, in our mall. Tilt, for those that are young, is like they were kind of a big arcade franchise back in the day. And they were kind of all over the US. So, he did some trade work for this guy in his home, and he had some arcade machines that he had stored or was moving out of the arcade because he was getting new ones. And my dad took us there to play with them, to check them out at the arcade. And he's like, hey, which one of these do you like the best? And we played for a bit, and he saw which one we liked the most. And guess what it was? Golden Axe. So my dad, I guess, got that cabinet as part of the trade, and we got it as a gift for Christmas that year. It was nuts. Me and my brother loved it. We played it nonstop, and we had a carport in our driveway. My dad, in his infinite genius, thought, hey, let's put it in the carport, plug it in. You let all your friends know about it, okay? And we'll leave it on 24 hours a day, except for in the evening, obviously, so we can sleep. But my friends and people were allowed to come play it. And I was making bank off of that thing, okay? I just had to pay my dad like $10 a month for power, and the rest was me. So first off, I got so good at Golden Axe, I could beat that game on a single credit. I was boss at that game in my youth. Super good. Then we moved from that neighborhood, and we had a garage, nowhere to put it where it was publicly accessible, right? It was in our garage, which, you know, was out of the house. I didn't like that it was in the garage because it was right in front of where my mom would pull in with the car. And lo and behold, one day she bumped into it with her car and it stopped working. And my dad wasn't living in the home. My parents had been divorced. He was actually arrested at the time, so never got fixed. And then my mom sold it during a yard sale to some random dude, never saw it again. So it's gone. It is gone. But I do have some like remastered copies of Golden Axe on my my Xbox, and I think I have a copy of it on SNES as well. But it bums me out still to this day. Okay, so I think we're going to go with table 3. Is table 3 the winner? So this is the winner. Let's delete these others. Let's get table 3 set up. I like to think that it was fixed by the person who bought it, and it's still being enjoyed to this day. Yeah, my dad was all about fostering like entrepreneurship, because when he was a kid, he would do all these little hustles to make money. So like when I was a kid, he gave me a box of maps that he got. And he's like, these maps are a year old. My friend at the gas station's throwing them out, but they're still good. They just aren't updated. So why don't you go sell them? And so he encouraged me to go door to door selling maps. Like, what? This was before GPS. So, you know, the people had maps. That's how they got around, was a map. Or like handwritten instructions, you know? So anyway. So I do stuff like that, you know, lemonade stand, go around the neighborhood and offer to pull weeds at people's houses, you know, mow lawns, newspaper, like anything I could do to make money. He thought it was a good idea, but he ran his own business. So you get the idea there. He was very like in his own kind of a self-made man kind of attitude. One of my other hustles when I was a teen that actually garnered a lot. I lived in a really religious town, religious neighborhood. I think that was part of the factor, because everyone was like very friendly and by that I mean they were just kind of extra giving for really no reason. I don't know if that's how it is in every neighborhood in America or the world, but that's where I grew up. That's what it was like. That said, my friends and I, we would take and go to a house with an egg, and we'd ask people if they'd want to buy the egg for a quarter. And people would be confused by this, and they'd ask us why, because we're trying to raise money to, do something fun this summer. And you're selling eggs? Yes. Door-to-door egg sales. And they're like so confused by this. Most people would just be, it's just a quarter. I'll give them a quarter. Then we go to the next house and we'd be like, hey, can I buy an egg for a dime? And they're like, we'll just give you an egg. This was an infinite money scam because the numbers were so small. People just didn't care. And we were like these young kids. They thought it was hilarious. Some weekends we'd make like 50, 60 bucks each doing this, going door to door. I know it sounds stupid. It does. But people would just be so flabbergasted. You're selling an egg? Yeah, for a quarter. Yes, eggs are cheaper at the store. Yeah, but I have an egg right now. You don't have to go to the store. You don't have to spend your time or gas. Well, what if I don't need an egg? You never know. You might need one tomorrow. It worked more than it should have. Okay, so we got the table. I'm thinking we need a backdrop that kind of blocks this area back here. I'm thinking a wall of some sort. I want to use freestanding walls, though, so I can scale them. So let's start with that. We're going to go to Object menu. We're going to go to Structural. And then we're going to find ye old freestanding walls. In the freestanding wall section, every single wall in this menu that you can add on to structures, like, buildings, etc., are set up as objects. So there's a copy of every wall in this menu as well. But because it's an object, you can scale it far above or below its normal constraints. You can put it wherever you want. Excuse me. Eric, dude, I'm going to make this landing page for our campaign, actually. I might have to hit you up for some imagery. What's coming very soon? This is already available in Dungeon Alchemist. We never egged anyone. We never egged anyone ever. Well, not when we were doing that, at least. Listen, I was a young boy. Yeah, I definitely toilet papered and egged people, but not people who didn't buy our eggs. You know what? Maybe that's why they bought our eggs. They were worried. Kind of like this. We could scale it up and it just gets really large there behind it. It's also kind of distracting. And also once you scale these, they're harder to get your hands on. I want something maybe not as busy. The problem with having so many choices is it paralyzes you. Analysis paralysis. This table is called Table comma, inlaid wood. So if you just search inlaid wood, you'll probably find it. There's two tables similar to this. There's this one and then another one that's like a war table that has like kind of like a river going through it. Guess it's just cast iron. I know our house exterior is cast iron like this. This could be a fun contrast. What do y'all think? Would a wood backdrop be better or like a cast iron backdrop be better? This is less busy, but the green is definitely a big contrast in color, though it doesn't look bad. Probably make it smaller, though. Yeah, there's this table called the war table, right? It's essentially similar to that. And then all these little assets can be used on the war table. You know, like when you in a war room where they have a table set up with all the like the tokens for the battlefield and different structures. This was released in the Fun with Objects Part 1 update. A lot of people have used these little war table assets as like village set pieces too, because they're like all-in-one houses with lighting and stuff. Yeah, the green is a nice for contrast for sure. I was also considering a different wood wall. This one's a little bit to the same color. One moment. Let's look at some other walls. Eric, dude, I need to reach out to you actually to discuss July with you a little bit. Cool. I'll reach out to you later. Really quick question before you take off. Did Didymus reach out to you? Because he told me he was going to message you. I just don't know if he did or not. So I wanted confirmation. Okay, cool. Which it's good news for the group. That's fantastic. That's a good contrast too. The cross is weird. I want to look in the bastion for the walls and see if, because I know this is the exterior. Let's look for the interior wall. Okay, I'm going to just save this where we're at, and we're going to open up that bastion again. Cool. Fantastic. Yeah, I'm really excited that he was able to work something out. I was really bummed that he would have to step away, and him finding, you know, some money in his budget was fantastic. That said, I know that may change things with stuff you'd been planning prior, so I apologize if you'd put in some effort already and, you know, that derailed it. So this wood wall actually looks really clean. Might have it favorited. I do not. Okay, let's go into the wood. We got to find this wall. It has got these little panels. Yeah, that's it. So we either have these in the study or we have these in like the main area of the house. Let's go downstairs. Yeah, I do like that. That's actually nice. It's called paneled wood. I'm going to just favorite it. We do have an update planned in the future called Water Worlds, which will likely address water-based effects. So, you know, whirlpools, rain, waterfalls, etc. Water at different heights. But for now, the waterfalls on the workshop are actually a great band-aid. They work really well. There's quite a few different options. But I can understand if they're not your cup of tea. Okay, so now that we know the wall there. Anyway, thanks again, Eric. Enjoy your lurk. We'll talk later. Let's see here. I'll get back to the bastion. Nope, we're going to go back to the landing page. By the way, at our next level up, our bastion's getting an upgrade. Upgrade! So new rooms to be added. And I think I'm going to put some of them underground so we don't affect the exterior that much. though it would be kind of cool. By the way, Poke Tavern, you can ask questions all stream regardless if they're related to the build. This stream's hosted AMA format, which means ask me anything. So as long as it, actually AMADA, ask me anything Dungeon Alchemist related, okay? I cannot select this anymore. I hate that. When walls get resized beyond a certain size, they like are useless. You can't grab them. I hope we fix that soon. I know it's on the to-do list, but it's like there's a big to-do list of fixes, and we actively do fixes, a few fixes per update while we're like pushing early access builds out. You know, stuff from our Kickstarter that people are expecting regularly, right? What was it called? Paneled, right? It was called paneled wood. So we'll go and search panel. Yeah, I think it's one of these. So which one do you prefer? Here, let's put them right on the table so we can compare. But yeah, during these streams, ask away, my friend. If you need any support, Monday is the best stream to get real-time support because I'll drop whatever I'm doing to help you out. Saturday's stream has an itinerary that we kind of have to follow, right? We do have a Q&A session, and I will answer questions during the other segments. But during Monday, it's like it's open season. Y'all could ask me questions the whole time. I think they both look really good. I'm kind of torn. You know, I really want to network this build as much as we can, so I'd love feedback and votes. So let's take a vote on this. Are we going to go, and this will be behind the table, not on the table. So are we going to go the cast iron, patinaed cast iron, or paneled wood? Both of which are used in the bastion of our house. The exterior is the metal. The interior is that wood. At least in all the common areas. So we got 2 votes for the right one. Ninja, I just saw your message and responded. Actually, it looks like, yep, so we got 1 for iron and 2 for wood. Atlam, where does your vote lie? Did y'all see who our next 2 interviews are on the stream? It'll be hard to say if there are going to be other green things in the room. Most likely, this is just going to be like a backdrop, like a big panel behind it. Several. I'll keep this panel to the side, right? If we change our mind later, or we could look at it and see. But ultimately, I think the wood panel is probably the best choice. almost to the edge. If they were a little bit bigger, so that lesson learned here. First off, I'm going to scale this one up just a little bit larger. Next, I'm going to start on the end. If we're right, this should cover this entire thing. Ah! This is going to drive me crazy until I get it just right, so I apologize for my insanity. Oh my gosh, I undershrank it. I can't win. Is this the one? Hey, remind me, Pokey Tavern, what was I talking about that you wanted me to tell you? Because I have been a brain fart all of a sudden. That's pretty close. Close enough. Doesn't need to be perfect, just needs to be visibly pleasing. Okay, so we got a table. Some things I want on the table and behind the table. I'm thinking a big map. So a board, like a chalkboard or something, or upcoming interviews. Correct. So next interview is with one of our art team, Magdalena Bach. She will be joining us on the 6th of June. So our first interview in June. And then on the 23rd of June, let me just double check. Or 20th of June, not 23rd. 20th. We have Quentin. Quentin will be joining us on the 20th. So when I booked Quentin on for an interview, it was months and months ago, and I mixed up my weeks because I was like looking at them as I did it, and I went way, way ahead. It was like 4 months ahead, and I mixed up the dates. So I had scheduled Quentin on a day that would be the dam challenge. So I ended up having to reschedule him. And then I found another person on our team who was interested in free this month. So we're getting 2 interviews with team members next month. So I think like a document like this might be cool on here somewhere, and some scrolls and stuff. But I also want like one of these parchments that we can put a like information on. And then I'm also going to have our like player like, imagery out somewhere. Let's put out any objects that we can customize. Customizable book, customizable paper, this parchment. All of these we can insert imagery into to make, you know, little like a map on this one or what, you know what I mean? Oh. Let's see what this looks like if we put an image in it. It's a good placeholder. Something like this. Hmm. You know what? We actually do need a special book on the table. This could be the black sigil that we just destroyed. Ooh, you know what? That looks more like a black sigil to me. Which one actually looks more black sigil-y to you? Left or right? Landing pages are actually kind of a niche thing in Dungeon Alchemist because it's not really advertised as a feature you could do, but you could technically do that with almost any art tool or map making program. It just has a whole ton of assets and things readily available to make it. So instead of having to use, you know, like a 3D sculpting program and sourcing or building all the assets from scratch, you have something right in front of you. By the way, welcome to the stream, Flying Fish Cleo. How you doing today? See, we could add some weapons onto the table. A dagger or something. Little sword like this, like outside. No one in our group really uses a sword, though. Not at the moment. A flail, maybe? Just trying to think of the things that'll be set pieces on this table. Yeah, this is true. I mean, honestly, with things like abstract objects and like assets that you can insert images into, there's a natural assumption that you either can create these images, edit them, or source them yourself, right? There's an expectation. It's usually for advanced users, these types of features. That said, it's not just for them, and anyone can learn these skills. I've seen plenty of people who said they never, like, you know, do any 3D modeling, and then now they're the most prolific 3D modelers in our community. We need some treasure on the table, right? Maybe like a pouch of gold. Or some actually coins or something sitting on the table. There is one pouch that you can actually see the gold like protruding from it. This one. The bag of coins. This one's one of my favorites. I'm not putting these in any particular place. I'm just kind of setting things out, and then we'll organize them later. Do one RPG. Is there any chance you could drop that in English, or maybe Atlam, you can translate that for me really quickly? No, yeah, definitely candles. Candles are no, you're on top there, my friend. Maybe a candelabra? And then also like a pile of melted candles. I'm gonna put these together. We'll put customizable items in one space, right? And then we'll just put like random set pieces in another. These one of these books needs to be picked though. I need you guys to pick left or right with these like evil looking books. Which one seems to be more like a black sigil to you? Atlam, can you send them the links for the dimensions on the wiki? Yep, thank you. Thank you. Every asset RPG, every one of those frames has a different resolution size that's like a safe zone for them. So in order to get an image in there perfectly, it has to be cropped to that exact size or roughly the same size. One thing that's cool about candles too is we can change their color. So we can make them like a different looking candle. We'll play with that later. Here's some different like candle things we could put on the table. The right one for sure. You know what? Let me ask my DM if he'll step away from what he's doing really quick. Eric, I don't know if you can hear us. Could you step away from your lurk for 1 minute to answer a question? I could show you all the black sigil, the image of it, and you'd probably be able to decide based on that. But I honestly, based on looking at it, they both kind of have that feel. But which one of these books looks more black sigil-y? This is actually what the book looks like. Or looked like, I should say. For now, I'm going to do this one on the left. Because it's more dark. Dang, they both... Actually, you know, it's got that symbol on it. I'll do the red one for now. To export the image without any shadows... I mean, shadows will be present in your build depending on how you set it up. Are you saying like inside there's shadows and you don't want them? Like shadows leaking over the wall? Here, let me save this. 1 moment. Are they asking two different questions? I'm a little confused. I potentially could, yeah. But then I have Asmodeus, who is awesome, and he's going to make me an asset from that book. Asmodeus just offered in Twitch to make it. Okay, so I'm assuming one of them has to do with this, where he has shadows from exterior stuff. Though it could be shadows on custom images, like if he lays down an abstract, right? Like one of these. These will get shadows on them no matter what. Because they're an object in the environment. So it really depends on how the context. If he's getting shadows indoors from over the walls, just he needs to go into the light settings and click block exterior lighting. Which this was how lighting was when Dungeon Alchemist launched. A lot of people complained about it, and the devs changed it to this. I think it should just be standard like this and remove this feature entirely. I don't know why we still have it for the alternative. I guess in some instances you may want light to be leaking in, like a hole in the roof or a break or something, right? But then it would just get in anyway. Another thing, maybe refer them to the Discord. Dag speaks Spanish, and also if we're in Discord, we could share images and maps and specs and do a lot more there. On the stream, with what they're saying, it's kind of hard without some context. So that black sigil, we actually carried that item with us. We could attune to it. It's like a wondrous item, gives you a whole bunch of powers. Gives you the ability to like magical dark vision, but then you're cursed. Your shadow, anytime you roll a 1 on a d20, it comes out and for a turn takes over and can use any of your abilities. So we didn't want to put our party at danger, especially with a chance of something bad happening where like someone could get fireball the entire party or something. So we decided not to attune to this item until the last moment before we used it to open the door and destroyed it. And I was the person who attuned to it. When we destroyed that book, it actually made my character have a new feat called Shadeless, which I found kind of cool. So I now no longer have a shadow and a few other abilities. I have necrotic resistance. I have true sight in darkness. I have advantage on like insight and persuasion checks in darkness. A whole bunch of random little abilities. Inside shadows. Right here, my friend. Under the lighting panel or under file settings. I believe it's right here as well. I need to tell the devs that this should be blocked by default. But yeah, if you want, you can also change the location of the sun through this advanced panel or change the time of day. But you can block internal shadows or external shadows entirely. The only way light will get in when you do this is through like windows or doors. Notice there's window light here, or if I open a door and rotate the sun around, then the light will get in through the door. Yeah, ruined walls also go through. So anywhere it's broken, where light should get through, a broken wall, a window, an open door, etc., it will get through. Stand by. Just give me one moment. Darn it. I'm looking for a link and I can't find it. Anyway, okay, let's see. Other things on here. I am going to want images of all the players, which I do have images. Not all current, but some of them. And I think I'm going to put them down here. That's a pretty normal thing. Lighting will focus on last. What other things do I want on this table? Some weapons, some books, some coins. Yeah, I want some coins. Coins. This is a little pile of coins right here. We need maybe a cool crystal on the table. Let's put huh. Guess could add like a little wand or something on the table. That wand looks cooler. And then we need... I just like looking through the items to see if anything's relevant to this. Am I having trouble importing this image? I don't know what is going on here. Oh. I'm gonna have to get a map image later. Hey, Kaihira, how you doing? I found the map, but it's like when you try to save an image of it, it saves it as like a web-based file. Gotta see if I can export the map on its own. Have to get it later. No worries. Okay, so documents. Let's grab some more papers. It's like a pile of papers. And like an unfurled scroll, just stuff like this. More books. Just have a pile of books at the back here somewhere. But we need to find a good pile. Ah. No, I do like the idea of some keys. We also have a ledger that is like the prison ledger. That's one of the books we have for sure. We can put a key on top of it, though we didn't break out with a key, I'll be honest with you. Yeah, I'm just going to put this key next to it for now. I'm going to put this in the pile of documents for now. This in the pile of props. Ooh, we need a potion, right? These things are all going to just be random props in the build. I'm moving them over into one kind of thing. These are themed things that are part of the build. So this book is important. This book is important. We have a lot of books that were important. This is just also prop. So I guess I'll put props, oops, in this side for now. This will be lighting. Just sorting out all the things I think I'll want in this build, for sure. You know what I mean? But I do think we have a pretty good pile. I'm going to just start organizing it soon. That'll just make it a bunch of organized chaos. A mortar and pestle would be a good thing. Like a stone one. It's not a web P. It's like an HTML page is what it's saved as. It's not a web P. If it was web P, I would have done it myself. It's something else entirely. I think we need a ship in a bottle for this because we've been on a ship. Kind of big, but it's okay. Necklace made of ears. What do I look like? Daryl Dixon? Compass. Right now, I'm just looking for items that I want to use in the build, and I'm kind of sorting them into categories on this table. Though I'll probably move them onto the floor just so I have like piles of things that I can decorate with. How you doing today, Mondu? Having a wonderful day. How about yourself? A wanted sign with our images on it would be pretty good, actually. You know what? I'm going to ping Mrs. Mac and have her build me a wanted sign with all of our faces on it, because at one point we were wanted, and that would be a really cool art piece for our characters. Don't you think? Nice. Okay, just got an image of this world map. Hmm. Okay. So this is Toivoa, which is the world we're based in. Lighting ain't helping at all. Move the lighting down so it's not so blistering on the screen. I'm going to try and scale this up a bit. So we started right here in a prison in Malaja Rock, which is, it's a city for giants, not a giant city. It's a giant city full of giants. So everything's scaled up there. It's much larger. And as a halfling, I felt really out of my element there. We cleared our names there, and then we took a boat, chartered a boat to go to a new region to investigate, you know, the thread that our quest line sent us on, which is over here in Grindavik, which is where now our home base is, our bastion. Which I think I want a closer shot of this. I'll take the master image, do a screenshot of that, and we'll put that on another map on the table. So what I'm also thinking is we need a picture of our bastion on here, right? Like, that seems legit. Let's go to... So right now, our group, we never really had a name for our group. We just had a placeholder, which is... We're the Fighting Mongooses is our name. I'd really like to see a lock toggle. Something that I've been well, there's two things I'd like to see that aren't currently in active development that I'd like to see. And these are just solely based on community feedback, not even a personal thing. I'd just like to see it so our community is more happy. One is a lock, i.e. let's add a lock button right here or up here, and you can lock any object, and when it's locked, it can't be deleted or moved accidentally. Right? That's one thing. The other would be that when you export above the first level, you have the option to export everything outside of houses, i.e. backdrop, the ground is transparent. So you'd only export the room interiors. Does that make sense? On any level above level 1. This would make it ideal for multi-level like plugins or true multi-level features that are starting to launch, like in Foundry last month. Like they added a new multi-level feature as a stock feature. Previously, it was through like the levels module, which what levels does is it essentially, just like in like layers in Photoshop or layers of a cake, you have all these different layers on top of each other. But if parts of the layers are transparent, you can see everything below it, right? Currently, all the layers in Dungeon Alchemist are solid images. So each level is its own layer. But some people want all those pancaked on top of each other like a cake that you can see them all stacked, sort of like a diorama. Hey, Kenneth, how you doing? What is the best format to use when importing the image? I recommend probably using JPEGs, just most universal. You can also use PNG, but I found that transparent backdrop PNGs with... Are you talking about like importing an image right here, Kenneth? Or are you talking about when you export Dungeon Alchemist? So when you import an image like to a custom space like this, JPEG or PNG is probably ideal. PNGs, though, if there's any transparency, it'll get rid of it. This map here was not made in Dungeon Alchemist. No, I just imported it as an image into Dungeon Alchemist. So when we were deciding on a team name, like we had just started our campaign and we just didn't have any ideas for a team name yet. So we were like, well, when we come up with one, we'll let you know. So for now, we just did a placeholder called the Fighting Mongooses. I don't know if I want to use this, though, like this. I may want it as an image on this board, like we pinned it there, right? Like it's like a pin that pops up over here, right? So what we could do is like an abstract. Probably have to change it. Unfortunately, at this time, we don't broadcast our games. They're private. So, basically, out of all the games he streams, we're the only one that's private, but everyone in the group isn't down for being live. We have a group of 6 people, and about half, well, a little over half of us would be fine with it, but the others are not. The other thing too is I kind of like the way that we're like outside of public view, because we can just relax and be ourselves and don't have to be like, you know, like worried about a public perception. We can just dink around. It's not like we have anything to hide or loot or anything. It's just nice to not have to stress about, you know, having a happy face at all times. You could just enjoy your game without that, you know? That being said, who knows what the future holds? Initially, there was talk about us having our game be public, but over time, you know, it really hasn't shifted. I could talk to them about it and see, though. And I feel like I've gotten nowhere on this build so far, other than just kind of picking out basic stuff. The other thing too is like I think streaming, when it comes to like video games and D&D, it not all games need to be streamed, right? Sometimes it's just for you to relax and have fun, and it doesn't have to be documented and shared with the masses in order for it to matter, right? It's still fun regardless. Yeah, those players do have avatars. But still, it's still a live session where people can hear you. It's not necessarily about being seen. Some people just, don't really care to be on a live stream, whether it's being heard or seen. Like not everybody's down to be on a live stream, regardless of being heard, or being seen. So I think that's kind of a little column A, a little column B. No, they only have that Bullwinkle guy in one group. So you just keep catching the same group. He has like 5 or 6 groups during the week. A compass by the bottle. That looks cool. Like the ship in a bottle, right? We'll put this book up near the front. And I'm thinking of putting like a few of these on the table with our character art in them. I need to talk to Mrs. Mack about getting a wanted poster made with our images on it. I also am working on new character art for me at the moment, so I don't really have any. Ah, you do have Kiddo's new art. Ah, thank you, bro. Honestly, I do think Azira has a new image now. Yeah, this one I don't have. I don't think I have Ender's newest image. That said, I'll probably have to crop it. Appreciate you, Eric. Do you have a zoomed in image of Grindavik at the moment? It's like a closer of the image of that region. Yeah, I'm going to want to crop that one. It's good, but it's kind of a vertical image. I have all these images, but all of our stuff is separated into different folders for each of us. There's the crew. Yep. I do need a new character sketch first off. That I wanted to kind of thematically do some changes to my character. So like if you look at my character art right now, I look kind of plump, right? I look like the typical halfling. I look like Bilbo or Frodo did at the beginning of the journey in my earlier art. But I want my new art to be of me sort of like thinning out, because I just lost my shadow and I wanted to kind of thematically make it look like I kind of like lost like maybe 10, 20 pounds overnight when I lost my shadow. So I'm not as plump, or maybe I tightened a couple notches on my belt and look a little sunken. Sort of like, what's the wizard character's name in Mighty Nine? How he kind of just looks like he's a little starved. Hey, see you later, Eric. Thank you, bud. Appreciate you. So I want my character to look. No, Grog is in Vox Machina, isn't he? I'm talking about Mighty Nine. There's a wizard in Mighty Nine who speaks in German a little bit sometimes, but he looks very sunken in, and just like he maybe hasn't had a solid meal in a few months. Caleb, that's his name. Sorry, I only watched the series once. Didn't follow along with the stream, so I have no idea about these characters really. But what I'm thinking, it just kind of that, yeah, no solid meal. I mean, I definitely am clean because we just got into this adventure, but I lost my shadow when we opened this door, and I haven't really noticed the changes that have happened to me yet, thematically, narratively. Like, I got all these abilities and lost my shadow, and I'm learning what I can do as it happens. Kind of, yeah, he really is. So essentially, my shadow's now gone, and I wanted my eyes to feel like sunken in, right? And my character is just kind of like skinnier, right? Like instantly. My hands are less plump and more bony. Like I wanted to look more bony and just kind of like, not necessarily dirty, but like a little bit like I'm starving. Because my shadow's gone, I maybe just lost weight instantly, like maybe 10, 20 pounds, and look a little bit differently. But the thing is as soon as this happened, we got into a fight, and no one's really had a chance to look at me and notice that I've changed or anything's different. And one of my eyes, I could have both of my eyes look this way because I have true sight in darkness, but I wanted one of my eyes to look like a galaxy marble. Sort of like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. I have some art of it. Let's see here. I may ask the devs, by the way, for permission to let me build this build in the next update, because I want to be able to rotate some of these images and place them somewhere. I kind of want my eye to look like this. Or maybe this. So the idea is that my character's eye will be kind of weird because now all of a sudden I can see, I have true sight, right? I can see everything. Like it's like the whole universe is revealed to me. There's a TV show, a cartoon called Adventure Time that's very long run and a bunch of spin-offs and stuff. But in that show, one of the main characters, his name's Finn. Finn has like his eyes change and they look like kind of like universe marbles. And he can see everything, right? Like he could see into your soul. You sound like Zoidberg. My sandwich heavy portfolio pays off again. Bah. Okay. Bah, my sandwich. Bah. I can't do Zoidberg very good. Ever since we discussed the other day, like voiceover, I've been practicing again, but it's going to take me some practice to get back into it. What's up, Jay? Go ahead and ask. Ask away, my friend. That's what these streams are for. They're in AMA format, so you can ask me anything. So the cinematic camera and the tokens are essentially immersion features. 1 second, Jay. 1 second. Oh, hey, I needed to ask you something. Would you mind making some like a graphic that's like a wanted poster of our group, where it's like clip art, black and white drawings, kind of rendered of us? That like because we were wanted for a while, I thought it'd be cool if we had a wanted poster. I was gonna put it up on this map, like it's like knifed onto the map, because I'm making a landing page of our group, kind of showcasing some things that have happened to us, and I thought that would be fun. It doesn't need to be a perfect drawing of us, like, you know, like it was like an artist rendering of someone telling the sketch artist of and then they made it a wanted poster. I think that'd be fun. Is that something you think you could do? Cool, awesome, love you. Oh. Oh. He says he uses Foundry, Atlam, so you can use the cinematic camera in a lot of different ways. Hold on, let me save, okay? So let me give you some examples. First and foremost, this map isn't a great example for it. Let me open another map, okay? I'm gonna save twice. We're working on a landing page. Yeah, Mrs. Max stepped in to check on me, see if I needed water at a perfect time. So it worked out. Let me open up this other map and I'll give you a few examples. What about my sandwich? No! Okay. So we're live on multiple platforms right now, Jay, and I'm talking to multiple different chats, so sorry if that was off topic. So, cinematic camera, think of it like a drone, okay? You can use this in a lot of creative ways. Maybe you have a new area your players are being introduced to. In video games and movies, often when you're introduced to a new area, they'll fly through it or over it as a quick cinematic pass-through, right? This is a great way to kind of like a primer for your players if they just entered a new area. Alternatively, this flyover is great if you have a player that likes to fly or has a familiar that they scout ahead with. You can use this as a great tool narratively to have prepared for those over-prepared players who almost always use their familiar for scouting. So a quick flyover of the area. Or this is a great way to just introduce them to a new region. Maybe they just got to a new town and be like, hey, this is the town of so-and-so. And you just do a quick flyover for them so they get an idea of what they're getting, right? So that's two simple examples. Tokens are both used for narrative set pieces. So maybe you have like a market stall or a store where someone's pretty much static all the time. They're in that location constantly. So you can leave a token in the map as a set piece. Alternatively, you can use a token as a camera for narrative storytelling. So let's say maybe, you know, you wanted to give your players a tour of a village on foot. You can record a few instances of them walking up to new areas, or maybe the first time they go into a building or a tavern. When they walk in, you can look around and kind of narratively set the scene for that environment, right? Lastly, chase scenes and cut scenes. Another one that I found was very impactful is a place they go to a lot, like their bastion, favorite tavern, maybe the city hall. If it's on fire and you're in a first-person view, it adds a very unique narrative storytelling advantage over just saying, hey, this is on fire, right? So essentially, it allows you to get different camera angles of your maps, take screenshots or videos to give as handouts for your players. If you have players that are constantly wanting different angles of the map, you can do that as well. The first-person camera, I've actually seen it used in campaigns live, where the DM will stream the first-person view and follow along, or they can use their inspiration to trade like a minute in first-person view. So a lot of these games, right, tabletop games, they're pretty much always in a top-down, where they are seeing their player from like a god perspective, right? A fourth-person perspective, if you will. Playing in a first-person perspective allows them to see from their own eyes, so you could quickly just show them what this looks like from that perspective. The default place when you record it, when you stop the recording, Mondu, so when you're recording, right? When you're done recording, a Windows prompt or a save prompt will come up. When you press R to finish, something like this will come up asking you where you want to save. So until you have actually saved it to a physical location by clicking save on this prompt, the video is just saved in it's like held in a, what is it? What's the term? It's basically held in limbo until it's finalized and saved. It's like on your, yeah, essentially, until you have hit save on this, it's not saved. Cache buffer, that's the word. Cache buffer. Yes, it's buffered until then. I mean, what do you use the cameras for, Chim? Everybody uses the cameras for their own needs. That's kind of the point of them, is that you can use them creatively however you want. There really isn't like a set agenda of what they're for. We've added them because people asked for them more than anything. People just wanted the ability to explore their maps at other angles. So at the end of the day, it's to use however cleverly you can. So, you know, you can add scenes as like a handout for your players, right, Jay? So if maybe your players discover something interesting, you could have a pre-recorded clip or a screenshot showing a close-up view of it so your players can take a closer look at it. Music videos? All right. That's right. You have been doing the music videos for it. So Jay, Dungeon Alchemist is currently in early access, right? It was conceived as a Kickstarter project, and during that Kickstarter, we had numerous goals called stretch goals that we hit. We hit every one of our stretch goals, and those stretch goals have been essentially our varied updates. Every time we have a major update, that is one of our stretch goals from our Kickstarter. So our most recent major update, which was last July, which was Fun with Objects Part 1. Fun with Objects was a Kickstarter stretch goal. We decided to break it into 2 parts because there was so much in it. It would have been delayed till now had we waited to put it out, right? So essentially we put out the first portion, which had roofing, multi-level, a bunch of quality of life improvements last summer. And then we did a small patch in between called the Fine Print patch, which essentially allows people to break massive maps into smaller print sizable chunks. And then Fun with Objects 2 launching before the end of the summer. Big update. So essentially we have all these major updates until we have delivered on all our Kickstarter promises and have left early access. And once we've delivered on all those, Dungeon Alchemist VTT is on the horizon. So we want to deliver on all our existing promises to the community that got us to this point. You know, our Kickstarter supporters, our early supporters, our community who's been here from the beginning and is in our beta and has been here, you know, providing us with insight and feedback to improve Dungeon Alchemist before we move on to a Dungeon Alchemist VTT. So once we have delivered on all those stretch goals, we'll start a development on the virtual tabletop aspect of Dungeon Alchemist, which at this point remains to be seen what it'll be. The devs have stated they'd like it to have much more compatibility with Dungeon Alchemist than most VTTs offer. Most VTTs are essentially just an image or a looped video and a data file. Maybe we'll go beyond that. Who knows what that would be or what it'll entail. But at this point, I'd say it's a couple years at minimum before we're there. Though, I mean, in the interim, we offer great compatibility for numerous playstyles, whether it's a printed map, a digital surface like a TV or a projector tabletop, virtual tabletops such as Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, Above VTT, we offer direct export supports for, and numerous others we offer, you know, limited compatibility with. So I think for the time being, us being as compatible with all play styles as possible is the way to go. You might not have hit R again to finish it. You might have escaped out. A lot of people don't hit R again when they're recording. So you start with the screenshot, it's just instant, right? It pops up and asks you where you want to save, right? But with recording, you got to press R again to end it, right? And a lot of people miss that step. A lot of people will hit escape and think it's done. By the way, if any of y'all have any questions during the stream, please let me know. These streams are hosted AMA format, which means ask me anything. So if you have any Dungeon Alchemist related questions, let me know and I will provide real-time assistance. Goodness, my TikTok feed froze again. I'm going to reload it right now. Sorry, TikTok people. Oh, did the TikTok stream end? There it is. Apologize if anyone was watching and asking questions. Okay, we're back. Asmodeus, I think she's going to draw it as an image So I can just use it in like those whatchamacallits in abstracts. This map here that we're building right now, Jay, is actually a landing page. So it's a great example of when you might want to use those camera tools, because not every map is just a top-down map. Maybe you want a handout that's just like a setting piece of a beautiful castle in the distance, or a landing page of your players', you know, interests and accomplishments and settings. So it's like a loading screen in between sessions. You know what? I was surprised you had a question, Mondu. I thought you were the pro now. You knew everything, right? We're getting a good vibe here, though. I'm going to put this like apothecary box in this corner. Did y'all see the post our lead dev shared about object grouping the other day? There was a lot of discussion in there. This is actually coming together really cleanly. Gonna need more items to put on here, though. I don't want it to feel bare. We do have plenty, though, that we can add. So some documents. Put this wine bottle in the corner there, holding it down. Shrink these down a little bit. I do think compound objects sounds better, or like groups. Calling them variants still works too, because technically at that point they are a variant, which is what we call them internally. What I really want about with grouping, though, not just moving objects, I want to be able to save groups, because it'd be so much more powerful if we could save and share groupings of objects. Meaning, the only reason I don't like compounds is because I grew up in an area rich with religious compounds, and they just remind me of like a walled facility with people there in a cult against their will, or, you know, willingly, but brainwashed. It would just be very nice because we have variants already in Dungeon Alchemist, right? Objects that are pre-decorated with things on them, right? Like tables, and if you press tab, you can cycle between these variants of pre-decorated objects. When you generate a room, these kind of variants are also kind of randomly generated with it. Nope, I do not know. At this point, I don't even know how close we are to the next update. All I know is rough timelines. Sorry, I get like one sit-down meeting with the devs a month to discuss this stuff. Let's put a gem in there. I think we got a good start so far here. Because it's pretty much time to wrap up. So we've got some pieces of art that are thematic to the group. We've got a map in the background. I'm going to put some more stuff on the table, like a map of our base or a picture of the base, and also like a wanted sign. I might stamp it up on here. I definitely want a weapon on the table, but I'm not sure which one. That's the thing. Maybe like a knife stabbed into the table or the wall. I know we have some of those on the workshop. A shield could be fun. That kind of looks like his helmet, doesn't it? Thinking here will be like a map of our bastion. Yeah, I was thinking like a map here or here. I want a few images on here, though. Some overlapping images. Yeah, I plan to use this space for like images, maps, stuff like that. I'm gonna have to crop that a little bit, but you get the idea. I do wish we had like one of these that was wide instead. Like most of our customizables are like square instead of like a wide one, you know? Ah, this is the one that's wide. Oh, you're asking for too much. No, I'm just kidding. Oh. All right, time to wrap up the stream, but I think we made some good progress, right? Got some good little set pieces. I had a lot of fun hanging out with y'all. Probably be done in 2 or 3 sessions tops. But I'm going to ask the devs if I can use a Sorry, if I can use the current public build, or I mean the dev build. Upscaling is the way to go because you want everything visible in a tiny, I mean, if you had to zoom way in, our camera only goes so far, right? So upscaling gives you a lot of advantage in the forced perspective game. Before this is done, I may even have to scale down the table a little bit or something. We'll figure it out. We'll play with the scale a little bit before we're done. Anyway, thank you so much for being here, everyone. I hope you have a fantastic week. We'll see you next time. I give a damn, all right? Hey, thank you for that sub, Nat Keo. Much appreciated. Remember, if you enjoyed today's stream, make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button, depending on your platform. In addition to that, our mods are going to be dropping some links, if they haven't already, for our Discord. I highly recommend you check out our Discord server. It's a 24-hour-a-day server, meaning you can drop in, ask questions, get support, learn about upcoming events, including streams, release information, teasers, and it's just a great group of people. We have sections dedicated to just hanging out, talking about whatever in our off-topic section. We have our general chat. We also have our GM chat, which in our server, there's over 34,000 members. There's tens of thousands of years of GMing experience combined in our server. People constantly come in and ask questions, get advice about, stat blocks, encounters, homebrew, all sorts of things like that. And people in our community, GMs, active GMs, map makers, are constantly helping each other out in that like line of help. So if you are new to DMing or experienced and just having trouble with an encounter or a map or any number of things, drop in our Discord, ask for some help, get some advice. Great community of like-minded DMs and GMs and cartographers. Anyway, thanks again, everyone, for tuning in today. Again, my name is Mac, the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. I'm going to run a quick Dungeon Alchemist-themed ad, and then we're going to end the stream, all right? Mac out. Bye. Let's mute that music.
But can it handle curves?
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 Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered map-making application for role-playing games, now comes with both round and diagonal walls. Create amazing professional maps for your players in seconds. Get it now on the Steam store.
All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Back out. Bye.